Hello, my lovelies! Ginny O here, the author with no last name, and this is Ginny O Reviews, the part of the channel where I review an indie, science fiction, or fantasy book. This week, I'm reviewing Drew Melbourne's Percival Gynt and the Conspiracy of Days, a science fantasy mystery adventure. You can find Drew on Twitter at Drew Melbourne, all one word, or at his website, drewmelbourne.com. I do follow Drew on Twitter, which is where I found his book, and I don't remember if we've ever interacted, so we're Twitter mutuals at least. From the back of the book. The year is 20,018. The famed magician Luminari is dead, and his greatest illusion has died with him. Dark forces now seek the engine of Armageddon, the ancient, sentient, doomsday weapon that the Illuminati hid amongst the stars. Enter Percival Gynt, accountant and part-time hero, whose quest to find the engine, before it falls into the wrong hands, may be our universe's last best hope for survival. It is a quest that will take him from the highest reaches of power to the lowest pits of despair, and through every manner of horror and absurdity between. But beware, this accountant has a secret that may damn us all. Percival Gynt and the Conspiracy of Days is a sci-fi fantasy adventure novel full of swashbuckling, math, dark secrets, space fairies, obtrusive product placement, Nazis, beating up those Nazis, unlimited baked beans, zombie cyborg assassins, fate with a capital F, love, betrayal, wizards, jokes, paradoxes, a sentient doomsday weapon, 11-dimensional space, clones, monsters, space nuns, and at least one rat chef. Only one rat chef. Let's get right into it, shall we? Did I like this book, and why? I did enjoy this book. In fact, I found it extremely entertaining, a completely turn-paging, humorous light read from beginning to end. And given the book is over 350 pages, that's saying something. Percival Gynt and the Conspiracy of Days is the type of book that I'd pick up to read when I'm in need of a distraction, not requiring too much investment. The plot builds over time. Everything that is mentioned actually ends up being important. There are puns and humor, quirky characters, and an incredibly fleshed out and fantastical space-themed setting. I'm giving this 4 ginger snaps. Now, here's where I'm going to put in my caveat. This book is written in passive voice. It takes a great deal of talent to write a book almost completely in passive voice and not have it be full of extra info dumping and tedious exposition and mind-sluggingly poorly constructed sentences. Drew manages to avoid all these pitfalls of passive voice while still keeping it passive voice and making it extremely entertaining and making me want to continue to read. And considering I have dumped at least half a dozen books between this review and the last one into my can't review pile due to passive voice of various reasons, this is incredible, on the verge of astounding, and makes me teary-eyed. The difference between what Drew does and what the others I can't review do is all in presentation. You see, Drew jumps straight into the action in his first chapter with an intriguing, inciting incident that has characters doing mundane things in extraordinary ways. He never actually tells us any character traits. This is one of the pitfalls of passive voice, the temptation to give us a list of character traits like you're describing their clothes. And yes, Drew does provide lists of the clothes, but they are quirky character establishing outfits with funny adjectives such as the red power tie, that you know exactly what he's trying to convey without it being boring. The characters just start doing things and playing off each other just like they would in an active voice type situation. The next thing Drew does is, while the book is consistently giving us exposition about the places and the history of the setting, it's only when it's necessary. It's also often done for humor rather than I think you need to know this, and I refuse to edit it out, so here's 10% of my first part of my book in exposition and backstory without any characters at all. The text is sprinkled with puns and current pop culture references, and yes, obtrusive product placement for laughs, even though we're far, far into the future, and liberal amounts of almost breaking the fourth wall. Which, given how much I love puns and pop culture references, and breaking the fourth wall, this type of humor is my cup of cocoa. It also isn't creepy, or cringy, or toxic humor that takes hits at the expense of other people, gender, races, and so on. The action just keeps coming and coming. Things that start out small, like Percival calling his mother to tell her he's in a bit of a spot, but don't worry, he's not dead and he'll see her for Sunday dinner, end up becoming more and more important as the story unfolds and the threads start being revealed. I didn't want to stop turning pages because I didn't know what seemed like throwaway exposition was going to be important next. And lastly, the setting of the story is so fantastical and entertaining, it really hooked me, and despite the passive storytelling style, carried the book. If, and I do mean if, you must write in passive voice, then having this fantastical setting and quirky individualistic characters and a plot that never stops is really important, and Drew hits all three right on the nose. Where this book doesn't hit is the emotions. I enjoyed the book. I thought it was funny. It made me laugh and smile, and that's great. The end of the book, the climax, and falling action, so to speak, where things are revealed and threads are all bound up together and things become serious and, in fact, slightly horrifying, didn't have the punch or emotional connection and weight they could have had if this book had been written in an active voice with a clearer connection to the characters by having us seated in their bodies and looking at things through their eyes. Passive voice puts me, as a reader, a step away from Percival's thoughts, and his body, and his emotions. I wasn't connected to him in a solid, concrete way through the reactions of his body or his actual train of thoughts. I was being told things, which is what passive voice does. Tells you things flat out versus active voice describing things and letting you infer, but also maybe telling you things just in case, because sometimes emotions and bodily reactions to emotions are confusing. So I never really got invested in Percival as a person, or Tara, or Esme, or the rat chef, who was really not quite as important as the blurb makes him out. And if I could have connected to Percival as a person, this review would have been me entirely raving about how awesome this book is. I mean, I now have another book to add to the list of books that have great settings that carry their plot. And if I do need some more, I wonder what Percival is going to use his umbrella for this time, shenanigans, I'd definitely pick up another Percival Gynt book. Just not really for Percival himself. Instead, more to see what Drew's imagination comes up with in his universe of aliens and space magicians. Because he has a really great imagination. So, if a science fantasy with a cast of quirky characters trying to keep the universe from ending in an imaginative setting sounds interesting to you, check out Percival Gynt and the Conspiracy of Days on Amazon, linked in the description below. Did you find this review helpful? Enjoy listening to me talk about books? Hit that like or subscribe button. And if there's a book you'd like me to review, leave me a comment with a buy link or go to my website, ginny0.wordpress.com. That's Ginny, the number 0.wordpress.com, and get in contact with me there. Speaking of my website, that's where you can find me and all the information about my character-driven, found family, werewolf, science fantasy, and fantasy books. It's been given a makeover, especially the front page, because I'm now also offering development editing. You can also find me on Twitter at Ginny0. My books are available on Amazon and are enrolled in Kindle Unlimited. Next time, join me where I'll either talk about such fabulous topics as reasons your book may be ready to self-publish, or maybe I'll find another indie science fiction book to give 4 or 5 ginger snaps. See you in the next video, my lovelies!